And hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gurren Otaku Council podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ace,
And I'm your host, McMillian.
and we are back for another special episode with number 8. We're almost at we are almost to 10 of these things now.
Mm-hmm.
Getting close here. But as always, if you would like to be a part of the council and join me and Billion as we discuss all things anime, sometimes manga, then make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, as well as make sure to follow us on our social media so you can stay up to date on all things about the council. And with that being said, council is now in session. Let the meeting
Let the meeting
begin.
begin.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Today we'll be doing a movie review of the Netflix anime movie Bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is it's a movie. I'll say that it's a
To
movie.
give you a preview of the thoughts.
So it is a movie. This is how this is gonna go down. The first section of this review, if you will be our non spoiler review for anybody who has not yet had a chance to watch the movie yet. After that, we'll be going into our spoiler review part of the review here, where we'll just be going into a deeper dive and into the movie, of course, and all of our thoughts and whatnot. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then the first half is non-spoiler, but the second half will be spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we will let you know when that part comes up, though. So
Yep.
we're gonna start us off, and so what is the Bubble movie? If you ask, our friend McMillian here will go ahead and tell us what that is.
Oh, okay.
He said, "Oh,
Excuse, excuse
okay."
me. I thought you were gonna read off. So hold on 1 second. Okay. So basically, the story of Bubble is that it's a story set in Tokyo after bubbles that broke the law of gravity rained down upon the world. They cut off Tokyo from the rest of the world, and also made it so like it was a playground where a group of young people who had become orphaned or disenfranchised by the bubble collapse, if you will, decide to you know take up life there. And how best to do that? Parkour battle games, you guys. You guessed it. And they basically as you develop into groups, do these battle games to either like curry favor between each other, get different like supplies and stuff like that. And it's just basically their world. The movie
Hmm.
focuses on a young member of a group of runners named Hibiki. He's the ace of this group, and he's known for his very dangerous playstyle. One day, he makes a very reckless move by traveling atop Tokyo Tower, where like gravity is super like mess up and transpose after hearing a song, falls into like the bubble sea, and it seems like it's almost over here for him until a young woman named Yuta saves his life. Basically after that, we go through the events of the movie between where it focuses on Hibiki and Yuta's relationship as it develops, and some interesting things happen along the way.
Yeah, so that is the synopsis of the movie, if you will. Our main cast, the name of their group is called the Blue Blazes.
Mm-hmm.
So they wear these blue jackets and just regular black pants. That's their outfit. And also, I would like to mention that how he McMillian mentioned that the bubbles do affect gravity. So here in this, I guess broken down Tokyo area, there are a lot of floating pieces of debris and other structures and whatnot just floating in the air due to the bubbles, affected gravity and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which
So
which adds on to the extra layer of
the
parkour.
parkour, yeah.
Yeah.
Besides just regular running and jumping, Assassin's Creed style, if you will, they have little like how what kind of example? There's not really a game or I think a series that uses gravity for parkour, but like if I
A
could
game?
think,
I mean, if you're thinking like a game, that Sonic Riders game, Sonic Riders Zero Gravity.
oh yeah, I guess something like that, just without vehicles. Basically, like where you can, there are parts of like the map that you can that are like either
and then
a bubbles or b like floating structures of
and then
buildings
there's
and
also
things.
Gravity Rush. It's not parkour,
Oh,
but
I don't know how I didn't think of Gravity Rush, but yeah, that's 100%
so it basically
something
really
like
the
that.
anime movie is basically just Mirror's Edge and Gravity Rush kind
Rush
of mixed
like
together.
blended with a little hint of romance, if you will.
So before we go any further, I will one thing I do want to point out that visually the movie looks fucking great.
Oh, stunning!
Yes, Wit did a good job with that. If many of you know, many of you may not know. Wit is also the same studio. I'm gonna plug this in real quick. That did Vivi Fluorescent Eye Song. It's another anime that's out there. If you haven't watched that, definitely go check that out. But this it's not about that. But they also did that anime, and you can kind of tell because basically they took the same animation style that they did for Vivi and basically used it for the Bubble movie, and
Yeah,
it
it's
and
very
it really
beautiful.
shows. It really
Yeah,
shows.
very beautiful shots, very dynamic uh, sequences that they pull off really well in this movie. Is if anything that this movie does execute on is the eye candy. It
Correct.
is a feast for the eyes,
Yes.
basically.
So I definitely wanted to point that out before we went any further. Visually, the movie is great. Like nothing to complain about in that aspect of the movie. Going on from there, so I guess to give a little bit more of the background, I overall, as far as like what I did enjoy about the movie, the parkour stunts were cool.
Mm-hmm.
Especially they show you that right out the gate. The movie starts with our team going against the other team. I think they were called the Ninjas, and you immediately
Yeah, I
get
think
to
so.
see
Mm-hmm.
how dangerous Yuki does in his with his moves and stuff like that because all his teammates are just running through going from brick building to building and whatnot, and everybody just
Mm-hmm.
wondering like, where the hell is Hibiki at? And you just see this motherfucker at the top of a tower, just
Tower.
all cool and shit. Like, what the fuck are you doing up there? And
Yeah,
then the
and he does it
motherfucker jumps off the building and lands on the bubble, and
bubble.
he just goes
Mm-hmm.
from there.
Yeah, and he does that like right immediately after one of his other teammates gets in trouble. He ends up saving him, and then immediately after getting to the goal and winning it for them. So like you already get a sense from the get that like, oh, Hibiki's the nonchalant badass of this movie. Uh, and like I said, like the parkour scenes, great. Honestly, it's really good. Characters though, I I'll say this: there are some characters you're gonna like. I feel like, for one, I think there's a scientist woman that helps out the Blue Blazers named Makoto. I like her character. I think she's fine, but she doesn't. Unfortunately for me, and maybe some of you, she doesn't really take up much else of the movie. She's like
She doesn't.
here, she's like here and there. Um, and I like the dynamic. I think of the team overall, like the Blue Blazers. I think
Mhm.
people are going to really enjoy their dynamic. But when you get down to Yuta and Hibiki, the two uh, protagonists, our dual protagonists, it lacks.
It, it definitely does. I mean, Hibiki shows us some growth in this movie. There's not going to be none. I will say that, but
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, I feel like the growth that he did have was kind of almost not genuine to a certain extent. It just came out of nowhere. I mean, they kind of explain it, but like the reasoning they give is like, okay, um,
Yeah, like
it's like, all right.
how how does that work? But moving forward, after Hibiki's little accident, because it happens pretty fairly early on in the movie, when Yuta saves him, we the first thing that like is pointed out and about it is that like, oh, Yuta decided to not Yuta, Hibiki decided to go after the tower, Tokyo Tower, because he was there the day of the accident, and after the accident, he can hear songs coming from the bubbles, and that's what like spurred him to climb. After he falls down, you see like these bubbles rush towards him, and then they end up being this girl, which is Yuta. No one knows that for like anything out of the movie. It's just like, oh, this random girl happened to save your friend, and then they are like, all right, let's train her up. No questions asked. And it was really weird about the recruitment style is like it happened immediately after she fucked up their shit. Like she shows up and she's like, I'm gonna fuck with your animals. I'm gonna fuck with your food that you're making. I'm gonna do all this shit. I mean, they're just like, we'll take her because she saved you. It's a lot of this stuff in this movie is like, don't think about it too hard. Just go with
I'm done.
it.
So I mean, well, now that you brought up Yuta, as far as the dynamic between Yuta and Hibiki, how do I describe this? Because it's almost like their feelings for each other was
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
I'm not gonna say it yet. We'll wait. We'll wait, but I don't think their relationship was the best like they could have shown
No,
off in this movie at all. I would
not at
say
all.
that as far as the non-spoiler, and I'll get more to that in the spoiler section. But as far as the dynamic between them two, parkour wise, they're on point. But I think
Oh
just
yeah.
relationship wise, it was kind of weird to watch, and it's almost like, why are we? Is this really what's going on right
No.
now? Is this really what we're doing? And I just think their whole relationship dynamic, I think, could have been done a lot better in this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, because in my anime has this problem where they'll give you a character that doesn't understand like what I want to say life or how regular shit operates, and then gives you a total like loner person, and just is like now they are the focus of the movie or show. Enjoy it, and it's like
Yeah,
but you're not giving me anything to attach on to, and like you're not giving me anything to be like, oh, they relate in this way or
nothing,
any type of shit like that. But
nothing.
somehow they expect you to latch onto these characters, and unfortunately, like in most situations, it does not work.
Correct. And
Because
then,
like
uh huh.
well, all I was gonna say is like there's a connection that this movie makes with the Little Mermaid story, and I feel like if you grew up in the golden age, like the silver age or I guess golden age of Disney, you've seen Little Mermaid, and there's obviously a connection between those two characters. But I feel like in here they don't even try to make that simple one, and it's just I don't know, it doesn't work in my opinion.
Not at all. And then on top of the characters, the main characters not mentioned together. I think overall, as far as I guess the message that they're trying to tell you in this movie, me personally, I don't think there is one. I didn't get it. Like, I don't know what they was trying to convey to me in this movie at all. If they had a message, what they were trying to make me feel from this movie, I didn't get anything. I don't know what I was supposed to, take back from this movie other
Yeah,
than it visually looks good and the parkour was fucking cool.
and also don't treat your friends like shit sometimes because like part way through the movie we get introduced to the antagonist, I guess you could say, which is a separate
I guess you can
team,
call them the antagonist. Why
which is
not?
a separate team of people called the Undertakers that have like advanced bubble parkour gear, which they never explain where the fuck it comes from
They
either.
did.
Like,
They
did
did.
they? Oh,
They
okay.
did.
I
Yeah.
must have missed that because I was just like, where do they got a sponsor? Why do they have a sponsor? Is this shit being televised? Where did
Yeah,
huh? Like,
we'll talk about that. But yeah,
but
but they did explain where they got it
okay. Well,
from.
excuse me, y'all. Don't this anger is misdirected then. But like they're a team with better gear and stuff like that, and they're showing out. And I feel like the movie is trying to make you like these are the bad guys, but in reality, like what have they done except style on people?
Basically.
like like that's all they did, and then they called out our main group. I mean, granted, they do put people in danger because like their tactics aren't really the friendliest, but no one dies from their antics, and they don't even make it sound like people have gotten really hurt from what they do either.
Well, I guess the mentor of the group, if you will, he was hurt by during the accident, but it wasn't due to the racists though. It
Yes,
was because he
yeah,
was off being a dumbass.
yes, yeah, like Hibiki was. Well, I'm saying like for the Undertaker specifically, like them propping them up as antagonists. I don't think they did a good job of that
Yeah, and then on
either.
top of that, so let's. So I want to touch upon this part real quick too. But so, um, these kids, they're not supposed to be in this area. Basically, like a big bubble dome is covering Tokyo, and they basically have fled Tokyo, all the citizens and stuff, and they just blocked it off. Nobody's supposed to be in there, but like Millie said, due to the fact that the bubble calamity, if you will, a lot of the kids lost their parents and stuff like that. So
And they
they
felt
just
like,
trying to find their way by doing this parkour stuff. One of the
mhm.
way that they actually get food and stuff is through the fucking parkour battles, but nobody ever explains where the hell this food is coming from. Like, so we're
Yeah,
okay. We're
and a bit
already. Uh,
and if I and just to piggyback off of it, just real quick, another that's also a huge problem I have with this movie, and it's like the stakes are high and everything else like that. When in reality, if people didn't want to be here, they
they
could
could
just
just
go
leave.
somewhere. They could leave. It doesn't say that they can't. And in fact, there's a point in this movie where people come in. and then leave. So, ah,
Yeah, and it's just like, so my thing is like, where is the food coming from, and then why are we? I guess, why are we fighting for the food? In my opinion, we're already living in the area where nobody else is fucking living it. Why are we making it harder on ourselves by fucking fighting for the food if the food is already coming from a separate source? Because they got to be getting this shit from somewhere. So I mean,
yeah.
but I guess it adds a little bit of fun to it, if you will.
I
But
mean, this again. I feel like not to beat a dead horse, but I just feel like this movie was like, I have a cool idea, let's run with it, but let's not develop it at all.
correct.
Because at the time, if you think for like 5 minutes about anything in regards to like the parkour game or like why these people are struggling in this area, quote unquote, you'd be like, well, they could just leave. This could be solved by doing this. Why don't the parkour people like try it? It could be a team effort to try and climb the tower and research if that's really like what they want. But they never address it. So
Never. And it's just like, I, Makoto's is supposed to be in here like studying the fucking tower or whatnot, but she's quote unquote like using the races to kind of like do that. But like you said, if they really wanted to, they could have just sent people in there to fucking research it. Like, why are we using children that's
now,
in here for fun to
now,
research the fucking tower? Like, what are we doing?
now before someone gets on my case in the comments about this, yes, I do know that there are spider webs, which is what they call black holes, that affect the tower area. I get that. But if you've watched this movie and by the end of it, then you know that those can be avoided. So again, and then like I don't know, like I said, if you think about certain parts of this movie for longer than just 5 minutes, you get like you be like, what? Why is that an issue? Or like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Or like, or for instance, me when the Undertaker showed up, I'm like, so why don't everybody have this? Or why is it not legal?
That part, like, why are we allowing them to use these in these races? Like,
Right?
nobody
If
nobody's
people have
saying
it,
nothing about this. It's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna race against them, and we know they have technology and shit to help them out.
and we know, and before someone says, "Oh, there's no regulations," we know there are regulations because there's a system of betting, and if they cheated, I'm pretty sure they would not give them the fucking supplies that they won from these fights. So I'm just like, no one's gonna reel in the people with superior technology that just randomly show up.
Correct.
Cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
It's weird. And then my last grief I really have with this movie is none of the side characters are interesting at all. None of
oh
them.
yeah,
Um,
I'd argue that none of the main characters are interesting, but we'll get into why I say that later.
None of the side characters are interesting. They don't. They first of all, they barely even go deep into any of the other teams, so we don't really get to see how any of those dynamics are, except for the leader of one of the other teams, which is called the Mad Lobsters. It's just this guy's fucking sniffing a sponge or something. We don't know why he's sniffing this sponge. I assume it's to get high or something like that, because I don't know what else you'll be
Life,
sniffing this sponge for.
life is hard in this bubble world. I I can only parkour and do flips so much for the reasons that I'm here in the first place, even though I could leave. I don't understand.
So yeah, we got this weird guy that's out here sniffing sponges, and then just the rest of the other teams just non-compelling, just not interested in it at all, at fucking all. And it's clearly that the Blue Blazers are the best team in this fucking bowl, and it's just like, why are we even racing at this point? Like, they don't lose. They don't lose. At least from what we saw, they don't lose. We don't know if they lost any matches prior to anything like that or something like that. But
Yeah, because another thing that I think that could have made this movie more interesting is give Hibiki rivals. Besides just like these people with superior technology, but like there could be other people on different teams that are just as skilled, if not no more. So that could have been a whole thing because that would have gave Yuta even like a bigger purpose for why she could have been on their team, other than just like, oh, we got two cracked out OPS runners, put them on the team. Yes, that makes sense, but in reality, you didn't have to. You could have just kept your one and been just as good.
just as
But
good.
uh,
But I digress. I
but
digress.
let's move past that and try to get to the end, and then we'll get to our spoiler section. So, like by the end of the movie, After the team deals with the Undertakers, Yuta has to return to Bubbleopolis. Some shit. I don't know what to call the mask, but basically she has to go back to being who she was before she became like took on this human form. Um, and while this is happening, the bubble calamity or whatever seems to be starting again and causing like some crazy stuff. And Hibiki and his team decide to be like, it has to do something with Yuta. We need to go get her. And a lot of stuff happens, and I
Is this not
don't.
spoilers? Small spoilers, I'll say that.
I
But I
guess
mean, because
small. Excuse me if I am giving too much. I'm just saying, like by the end of it, there's stuff that happens, and she kind of has to return to being a non-human thingy. But we don't say why, so I'm just gonna. And by the end of it, stuff happens, and then after the climax, we get a resolution to where the bubbles.
so I
I don't know.
mean,
You get the
yeah,
climax and the resolution, and in my opinion, it's not deserved.
it's not at all.
I forgive me for if I got a little bit spoilery on that part. I do apologize.
Yes. So with that
Uh,
being said, just overall for the non-spoiler sections, the visuals, animations, fucking amazing. That's probably the best part of the fucking movie. The soundtrack is also dope. I will give them that. I do think the
yeah,
soundtrack did fit the movie very well. The characters, basically all of them, really. I don't think any of them was really that interesting at all. And then just for me, the overall story and message, I don't think there was one for this movie at all.
I basically. What would you rate it before we get into it?
What would I rate it?
Mm-hmm.
I was telling
Since you
McMillian
guys
this. I have to get. I was gonna rate it a 5, but just because it looks so damn good, I have to at least give it a 6. So I'll give it a 6.
a 6. Okay, so before we get to sports section, I'll do my little thing. So basically, I agree with Ace. The story and the characters don't really hold up. I feel like in the majority of things, like there are things I feel like they could have done to make it more uh illustrious. Like have they could have instead of like giving people the option to go back into the bubble, they could have just been like, oh, certain people are trapped in here, and this is how they decide to spend their time and other stuff. Like instead of just being like, hey, you can go and leave at any point. And then the characters don't really stand out. They don't really give them much other than like even Hibiki and Yuta, who are supposed to be our protagonists. Their relationship is supposed to be like the thing that like holds your attention, but in a lot of ways, like you just be like, okay, if this is real, would they really be acting like this? And I know anime is supposed to be like suspension of disbelief, but those two, I just got it doesn't. They don't even feel like they gel well a lot of times because they don't show like the similarities other than they're like I admire this person and the other person kind of just tolerates it and then somehow that develops into a loving relationship. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was definitely
but
weird.
but the highlights of it are the animation, the soundtrack, and just the premise is a strong premise.
Oh yes,
It's really
like
interesting.
yes, the idea. I will say that the idea of the world is fucking cool. I will give them that, but I just don't think they hit on a good story like at all. Like
And for that reason, I'd also probably have to give it a 6. Like this is something I would probably be like turn on in the background or like I don't have anything to do and I want something to look at. This is that movie.
yeah,
But the visuals and the soundtrack and like just the premise is interesting enough to grab your attention and be like, oh, this is an above average movie. Like
correct.
it's not something that you'll be like you'll probably walk away from it being like, oh wow, I I got nothing out of that. But but the thing is, at least you enjoyed it. Like
Correct.
like for me, a 5 is like, wow, that was a movie. I got nothing from that. Like that's that took hours from me.
Yeah. Basically, what I told Million, it's not a bad movie, but it's not a great movie.
A movie, yeah. It's like it's slightly above average. So that's why I was like, it's either you can either give it a 5.5 or a 6, and I'd be totally okay with it. Some people I've been seeing online, some people are giving it a 7. I don't think I'd give it that far because 7 is usually like
I mean,
slightly above
seven is
average.
the max. I wouldn't go no further than that. If I
Yeah,
did give it a 7, but no, I wouldn't go
like
no further than that.
in my opinion, this is only slightly above average, and it's not
Correct.
like above 7 is 7 and 8 is usually like above average. 9 or 10s are like
Yeah, I feel. Yeah,
up
yeah.
there. So
But yeah, so
yeah,
this was the end of our non-spoiler part of the movie. We are
sorry, I got
now
a little,
heading into yeah, yes,
just a
we are
little. I apologize.
just a little, but we are now heading into the spoiler part of our movie. So if you have not yet seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, now is your chance to click off the video and come back later. But if you don't, if you don't care about spoilers or if you don't plan on watching it at all, whatnot, and you're just here just to listen to us talk, then by all means, this is the spoiler part of the movie, and we're going to get
Mm-hmm.
into it now. So we
So
can finally start talking about a little bit more of why these issues are the way they are. And I'm just going to start. This
wait.
motherfucker fell in love with Bubbles.
With a bubble. I was gonna do a countdown thing. It was gonna be like 5, 4, 3. Okay, they go.
Is
Bubble
okay.
pedophilia. That girl, I don't know how old she is. I don't know how old the bubble is. I just know that she created her human body in a day, and immediately we get to see them dirty macking on each other. Bubble pedophilia.
This motherfucker fell in love with Bubbles. And so I was explaining, like, I don't think their dynamic between their relationship was real at all. And let me explain why. So throughout the movie, we found out that Hibiki has a hearing disorder, and he has hypersensitive
Sensitive
ears.
ears, yeah.
And throughout when he was young, I think it appears that his fucking mother left him. I think that's what it looked like, that his mother
Yeah,
left
I
him.
think that's what
And they
they
don't really
hint at.
fully explain that, but from how they depicted it, it looks like after his mother tried, taking him to all these different doctors and shit like that, but he was just never getting better. And it just appears that she fucking left him. Now, it wasn't really confirmed, but that's how I viewed it. And for one, that's fucked up.
Definitely.
That's fucked up. You mean to tell me first of all, you lift your child just because he has hypersensitive ears? Like, come on now. Like, that's number one. That's kind of fucked up in itself. But
Mm-hmm.
through that anyway, so he has hypersensitive ears, and that's why he was always wearing these headphones that you see with him on. After there's an event in the movie where after so Makoto ends up getting snatched by the Undertakers, and that's how they made the Blue Blazes challenge them to a battle and whatnot. We'll talk about that race a little bit later, but push come to shove, the Blue Blazers win, and they end up getting Makoto back. This is also the same time where Yuta stars in her first parkour race. Once again, visuals and the running the parkour part of the movie, this is fucking cool. I got to
Mm-hmm.
give it that. But however, after that fucking scene is what make fucking Hibiki just all of a sudden just, oh yeah, I don't have this hearing disorder anymore. Because we saved Makoto and I just feel such strong attraction to Yuta, my ears are fine now.
Yep.
They're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need these headphones anymore.
100%. Don't make no damn sense.
It don't make no damn sense.
Also, let to get past that, let's go to the problem of the relationship as a whole. They don't. Yuta doesn't understand how to physically talk for the majority of this movie. She is mute. Now, I'm not saying that you can't fall in love with someone because they cannot physically speak, but he named her. And I'm gonna be real with you. That at first it felt like more of a brother sister relationship than it felt like a love interest type thing. And I don't know where it switched. I really do not. Because up until her disappearance, they didn't even show anything like was it legitimate? I think Makoto sits down with them, has a lesson about the how the the spiral is in
Mm-hmm.
every aspect of creation. Like you can find it in almost throughout the world. And I'm like, oh, we're getting into like maybe some like origin stuff with the bubbles that don't go no further. And
None.
then they have the match with the Reapers. They do that alley oop move to win, and After that, they don't even. There's like no romantic stuff that happens. Everything that they do could be summarized as either good, really good friends, or brother and sister relationship. Because the only time that they even show like Hibiki being exasperated over Yuta is when she disappears.
Correct. And then another, like on top of that, basically how he even more basically fell in love with her is, so we mentioned how Hibiki hears this tone, if you
Song, yeah.
will, that's coming from the tower. It fucking turns out, it just fucking turns out that this tone that he has been hearing was Yuta all along.
Alone.
And now let me,
Even back,
I have to touch up
even
on
back
this.
in the beginning, because
Yeah, that's what I'm getting into now. I gotta touch up on this. So the bubbles come, right? The bubbles come into the fucking world, and they're just all happy go lucky and whatnot. And but basically, what made the bubbles go fucking crazy is because when the bubbles started falling, not Yuta, Hibiki could hear Yuta singing and whatnot, and Hibiki's in the fucking tower at the time, and he reaches out to fucking Yuta and while she's in bubble form. He doesn't know that it's Yuta or whatnot. He just knows it's a fucking bubble, but he reaches out
mm-hmm.
to the fucking bubble like, "Oh, it's you all along. I can hear you." Like, okay, but that instance right there, for whatever reason, pissed the bubbles off and set off the whole bubble
Whole thing,
calamity.
the
It
whole
set off the
thing.
whole thing. They never fully explain why, other than the whole Little Mermaid type situation thing that they had going on. The reason for why the bubbles got upset when at that, well, really, even that doesn't fucking explain it, because at that point, Yuta wasn't gone anywhere. All she did was go talk to this little boy. You mean to tell me her talking to this little boy pissed y'all off? Like
The I,
I
another
don't understand.
another part about that, just in case we didn't explain, the bubbles have feelings because apparently they might be ghosts. Maybe they mention it like one as an
Oh
offshoot one
yeah, oh
time
yeah, and just fucking
in the
apparently the
movie.
bubbles are sentient. Fucking apparently,
I,
the bubbles are fucking sentient.
I mean, granted, you kind of get that from Utah's thing, but like the fact that they might be people or souls of people is just wild, and it doesn't explain anything at all. Because again, the bubbles were supposed to be a random phenomenon. How the hell did souls of people get trapped in them, and
Yeah,
how did that? How does that start being bubbles?
yeah. So the whole reason the bubble catastrophe even happened is dumb as fuck in my opinion. Like the bubbles basically legit got mad because Yuta went and talked to fucking Ibiki.
Ibiki as a child,
That's it. That's it. That's legit what the fuck
and
happened.
and by the
And
end,
uh huh.
and then the solution to that was after they see the teamwork, I guess, between Hibiki, his friends, and the lengths he will go to have relations with this bubble. The other bubbles are like, we respect you now. Disappear, and then that just brings the bubble down over Tokyo, and people are now allowed to go back and resume their lives as the bubbles. They're still around, but it's no longer enveloped over Tokyo, and it's the gravitational stuff seems to have calmed down a bit. But I don't. You never understand. You never figure out exactly what the reason why the bubbles were mad in the first place to cause a calamity, other than the Yuta thing. And then why did seeing a boy want to have romantic relations with the bubble calm the other bubbles down? Wouldn't you get more mad if talking caused you to get upset? Why would a man wanting to love a bubble solve the issue?
Uh, uh, I don't know, but yeah, like I said, just the whole fucking storyline is just, it was convoluted. It was all over the place, and like I said, I received nothing. I don't. If please, if anybody down in the comments or whatnot can tell me what the hell the message of this movie was, I'm all ears. Because if you ask me, there is no message. The
Yeah,
message is pretty visuals and parkour. That's the
yep.
message of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and mixed with the Little Mermaid.
Mixed with the Little Mermaid. Yeah, I don't. I really. There's not much else we can say. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we didn't touch on that was in the spoiler part.
Yeah, we can touch upon this. So yes, they did, because since we talked about it, then we got to talk about it now. So yes, they did explain where the Undertakers got the fucking boots from. They
Oh,
did have sponsors, and it is because they were live streaming the events of the fucking bubble, what was going on inside the bubble and whatnot, and through that they was getting sponsors and stuff like that. and that's also how
So
they
their
made their
team was
money.
doing that specifically.
Yes, their team was doing that
I don't know why I
specifically.
don't remember that. But if anything, people, this should go to show you that this movie is not that good because that's a big part, and I didn't even remember that. And also, how the hell did they work that out? Again, the fact that people can enter and leave the bubble shows that more sponsorship could happen. Why aren't the other kids getting deals? How the did
I mean, I guess technically, only a finite amount of people even know what the hell is going on inside the bubble. Like whoever's just like watches the Undertaker live streams, they will be the only people that really knows what's going on inside the bubble. Everybody else, they fucking
well,
left. Why the
I'm
fuck
just
am I
saying.
gonna stay here?
But I'm saying, like, if it's popular enough for them to create new technology, for them to create
Well,
Air
okay, well,
Jordan
okay,
bubble,
well,
for them to create bubble Air Jordans, it
well.
has
When
to
you
be
when you
popular,
put it when you put it like that,
right? Like,
when you put it like
and
that,
shouldn't they be winning more? Like, shouldn't this be like a legendary team? Because halfway through, when they show up, I don't. It seems like they didn't even know the people didn't even know who the fuck they were.
yeah. When you put it like that, and then I guess overall, I don't like I said, there was no stakes for this movie because even like in the climax part of the movie, where the bubbles were basically they gave Yuta a vision like if you don't come back, we just gonna fuck Tokyo up even more. Tokyo's already fucked up. What's gonna happen if you fuck it up even more? Nothing. Who's gonna
I
care?
mean, these random children will die, but other than that, it, the fact that people can enter and leave is really a big issue because it just makes the bubble calamity not a thing.
Like
um,
there were no stakes for this movie other
yeah, like
than
I said, like with
I
the
have to save my bubble girlfriend.
yeah, don't fall in love with bubbles, people. That's all I've basically found out from this movie, and also that apparently, I mean, like, also makes a big deal of the spiral thing and the Little Mermaid. But again, those things don't. By the end of the movie, those things don't have payoff.
They don't. I at least have to
It's
ask this question because my thing with movies is at least if you have a good climax that can save some of your movie. How do you feel about the climax of the
I
movie?
thought it okay. If you're not paying attention and you don't and you're not looking for like them to be going against an antagonist or anything like that, it's great. Like I said, the soundtrack and the visuals really helped this movie because I was tapped in for it. But in my head the whole time I'm thinking like, wow, this is amazing. What the fuck are we doing this for again? Because she can't come back. We know she can't come back. So what are we doing? Because by the end of the movie, it was just so he could say goodbye. That's a lot to do for a nigga to just say goodbye to a bubble.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it looked good. It sounded great.
yeah.
It got me hyped.
Oh yeah, and then another thing that you wanted to touch upon as well is you mentioned that how at the end of the race with the Undertaker's like they do that little alley oop scene where Hibiki grabs onto Yuta and he throws her to the flag and but when he does
Oh,
that part of her arm disappears
thank you.
and just magically nobody caught that.
No one else. Like, I don't even. Did the Blue Blazers even see it? Because by that,
No,
at the end, she disappears from that, and then she goes back. But how? Especially if this gets live streamed. This movie has a lot of plot holes. And you should probably think, wow, you're really passionate about this. Why is it not lower than a 5? Or why is it not a 5? And it's simply because
the
the
animation
other stuff really
and the
brings
other
it up
stuff.
to the point where it's like this is above average. Because most movies I think are average. I'm not tapped in, and I was tapped in for the for parts of this movie. Like, I was fully paying attention. It's just, if you think about it just a little bit more, you'd be like, this has like no ground to stand on, like, at all.
Done.
And
Like the bubbles come out of nowhere. They don't explain what the hell the bubbles are even. They don't even say like what the bubbles fucking want. I can understand
why
you.
do they want anything?
I don't like. I can understand you not telling us where the hell they came from, but they don't even tell us what the fuck the bubbles want from us. Like the reason why they are here on Earth.
why
We
do
don't even
they
get that.
why do they want anything?
We don't even get that.
Why is their goal not to go expand outside of Tokyo? who who
That part as well, because like you said, when they first came to Earth, they was all over the world. But then after they got pissed off that Vicky was
were
talking
they
to
all over the
Yuta,
world? I
yes, they
don't
were
remember them
all
saying
over the
that. Oh,
world.
okay. I
Yes,
don't remember them saying that. I just remember them saying that the bubble calamity specifically affected Tokyo the
But
worst or some
it
shit.
specifically affected Tokyo. But when the bubbles first showed up, they appeared all over the world. But for whatever reason, they Tokyo was it. Hibiki, we don't like you.
Again,
Bubble explosion.
yeah. So again, the movie doesn't have a lot to say on. There's not much else I can say. You got anything more?
I mean, other than like I said, just the bubbles. Why are they here? What are we doing? What
What
do
are we
they
doing?
want? And okay, they're sentient, but
I, I,
like I said, the real thing that really just pissed me off is just you mean to tell me y'all blew up Tokyo because one of your bubbles was just talking to a human. That's all that happened.
and they somehow
And that
decide to stop.
alone pissed you off, confuses the fuck out of me.
And the fact that they decided to stop because he was pretty determined for that bubble is even wilder because I just feel like would you not get more upset if
That part.
talking to one.
And then
Yeah,
the
you
relationship between Yuta and Hibiki just feels so goddamn fake to me. And
again, they
it's
don't do anything to show you that they care about each other
nothing. This
more than just
motherfucker fell in
friends.
love with her because she could sing, and she was the fucking bubble that he met
That almost
how
got
many years ago.
that upset the other bubble so much that he almost died as a child as a result. Yeah, it doesn't
Yes,
look. This movie is a drug trip, and I encourage you to watch it with a friend so you can make fun of it, so you can get even more enjoyment. But other than that, if you decide if you did watch it and you liked it and you thought it was better than a six, please let us know why.
also, yeah, also let us know, if you had one, who was your favorite character. I don't.
Because personally, I don't feel like I got attached to anybody in this movie.
Yeah, because they nobody did anything. Nobody did nothing in this movie
Yeah,
at all.
it was just a whole bunch of stuff.
At
But
all.
with that being said, I go ahead and take us up on out of here. So, as always, guys, appreciate you for watching us last listening. For my YouTube watchers, please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts about, bubbles and relations. If you've ever fallen in love with a bubble, because it'd be wild. For my audio only listeners, uh, consider giving us a follow, as well as letting other people know about us and giving us a review. If you want to stay up to date with all things about the council, please follow us on Gurren Otaku Council on Instagram and Gurren Otaku's on Twitter. As always, guys, enjoy your week. Enjoy your anime movies that hopefully have nothing to do with bubbles. And yeah, just take care of yourself. This is Gurren Otaku Council saying meeting adjourned. Peace.
Stay away from bubbles.